Oh, getting up out of bed when it's cold and it's dark outside just doesn't seem natural, does it? But here we are, it's Monday. We've had a little bit of time off. I had Thursday and Friday off because I had to go to a wedding, which is really nice. We stayed over in a hotel, and that was a mill, an old working mill. I think I've got some footage still of it on my phone actually. I might show some of it. Yeah, we're going back to a job now. So I had Thursday, Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days in a row. So, they say there's nobody needs a holiday more than somebody just got back from holiday. And I've got to admit, I wouldn't mind another day off. You get used to doing nothing, don't you? Or at least doing as you please. Right, I'm going back to Sunningdale. I'm not sure what's ready on this job. We're going to find out when we get there. So, it's just as much of a surprise for me what's going to happen in this video as it is for you. Let's get there and see what's happening.
Have I got anything in my teeth?
Yeah, there's spinach in that.
I haven't eaten any spinach, but it's there anyway.
Okay, here we are inside the job, and to be honest with you, it doesn't look like much has happened since I was here last. So we've spent 3 days here, and we managed to get this done in a day. This was our first day in here, and this was the second day, so I'm still waiting for this area to become ready. And as you can see, there's quite a bit going on here. So the only room we have is this one, which is just straightforward plasterboard. So let's get this scrimmed, get some beads up over there, get started. Shouldn't take long in here. Okay, I must admit this job is dragging its heels a little bit. I come to view it months ago, and it's months late. The guy's kind of doing everything himself, and apart from the plastering obviously, and I know he's struggled to get things done in timely fashion, but it's his own house, he's doing it, it's not holding anything up, but the problem is, I come in here because it's ready. He's got some of it ready, and we've plastered most of what's ready, and we've got that last little room to do, which is fine. But this is just like the nature of plastering, especially when you're like a one-man band like I am. I mean, I have had guys working underneath me and stuff, and bigger jobs, getting into estimates of tens of thousands and stuff. And to be honest with you, I mean, at the time I had quite a young family as well. I was doing so much work all the time for really little reward, to be honest with you. And trying to, get, what it's like in the building trade. Some attitudes are a little bit more lax than others. And the phrase trying to herd cats when you're organising, when you got, a couple of jobs on, you can't be on them all. And you're relying on other people to turn up, and all of a sudden somebody doesn't turn up on a job. Builder phones you up, so you're on the phone to the guy, where are you, and there's no answer until, late in the afternoon. It's like, well, I don't know what to say to you, builder, blah, 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 blah. I've got to sort it out, and all my diary is all messed up all over the place. So yeah, it used to be a lot of work, and you just never stopped working. All night long you'd be on the phone organising jobs and stuff, you just didn't stop. So, being by myself, I do a lot of little jobs now, nothing big at all. So yeah, with this one, I've kind of left like a bit of a large space in my diary to fit this through under the idea that this was all going to be ready, but as clearly as you just saw, it is not all ready. So really we've only got a day in here now, and I've got nothing booked in until I got, well, penciled in. I got something on Friday from another builder. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I haven't got anything in at all. What's the options? I could say to this guy here, look, do you want me to start tacking for you on maybe a day rate or something, moving things around, get this ready? But I think what I'm going to do is just phone another couple of contacts that I've got, another couple of firms that I work for, Jasper, the Emperor being one, there's another guy, and then there's another guy who I do, so there's, you know, there's 3 plastering firms that I jump on and off with. So I think what I'm going to do now before I do anything else is have a little phone around, just see what the water's like out there, and see if I can just fill these the middle of this week. So yeah, that's what it's like, you know. I mean, I got to admit, I haven't bothered checking with this guy whether it's ready or not, and I knew he did mention to me he was off to Portugal for the weekend, and I think he comes back tomorrow. So yeah, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen for the next of this week. So, you know, being self-employed and stuff, and being small like I am, a sole trader now, you know, this is the sort of thing you have to kind of be prepared to deal with, you know. Things just change like that. You could be overloaded with work, have too much, and then the next thing, it's all gone. It's just like nobody's called up or anything. Or you find yourself in a situation like this. I mean, September, it's September. Well, it's the end of it. It's coming up to October. So I always say, you know, September's a bit of a transition month, isn't it? Because kids go back to school and stuff. It's after the summer holidays, etc., etc. But I tend to find with plastering, things start to kind of speed up till Christmas, and I think it's probably just where the nature of plastering is, where it's, you know, a trade which tends to come along later on in a project. So quite often, you know, you've had people start projects maybe late spring, early summer, and they start to overrun and blah blah blah, and then they're in a big rush to get things done before Christmas. So yeah, who knows how the cookie crumbles. Right, I'm going to make some phone calls, and then I'll let you know how it gets on. Hippo scrim tape, the orange one. It's alright. It's the same as any other scrim tape. It's a bit easier when they do have a colour to them, because you can see exactly if you've missed anything. Okay, so all our scrims up and our beads are up, and it looks like we are pretty much ready to mix up some plaster. Well, quickly, just if you don't know, beads are up, cut them with tin snips like so. I always cut them at a bit of an angle. So we've got this going on. It's very easy not to scrim up right into these little joints and stuff to get them. So other than making sure that this visible part of the bead is in front of these 2 wings, then you need to get a good covering of plaster. You can check that out with your trowel and make sure, you know, you are covering that, and these aren't sticking out and protruding out further than the actual bead part of the bead. So that is point number 1 that you need to get sorted. Also, point number 2 is you need to make sure you get your corners to flush up really, really nice. Otherwise, what's going to happen is if there's a ridge there, your trowel's going to judder over the ridge, and it'll cause a ripple down the wall, and it'll be just a pain to deal with. So get these really, really quite good and flush with each other. I'm very often using staples. You can nail them up, you can screw them up, you can stick them up. These staples, 10mm, get through pretty good onto plasterboard. So yeah, that's point number 3. Point number 1, make sure you get the square. Point point number 2, make sure you get your corners. And number 3 is make sure you get it secure enough so that when you are actually putting plaster on, it doesn't move around, because you can get this all great and everything, but then when you come to do the reveal and you come out this way or something, the bead's shifted round and it's created a little ridge. So you want to get them up there pretty firm. And that's about it. That's all I've got to say about that. So yeah, I did make a few phone calls about drumming up some work from somewhere. People are going to get back to me via. So what is the time? The time is, I don't know. It's still really early in the day. Yeah, so I made a few phone calls, three phone calls. People are going to get back to me when they got some work. But then another builder phoned up, another job that he's been queuing up, and I forgot all about it, to be honest with you. I could potentially be going to Shepperton tomorrow now. There's a couple of days there. I can't remember exactly what it is. There's some ceilings in a room. He sent me some photos. A couple of days. That's all I need to know. So, yeah, I might be going to Shepperton tomorrow. Okay, so we're ready to go. As you can see, it's not really a particularly large room at all. So, we'll probably be able to get the whole thing on and live. So first things first, I'll knock up about a bag and a half of multi-finish, and that equates to that much water, which is probably about, almost 2 full regular building buckets. Okay, because I'm not really feeling it today, I've over-socialised in the last 4 days. I'm not going to throw this all on. The last video we did was called Eating Meters, and that was throwing a whole room on like this and linking the gauges together so you're moving around the room in the chain that you put them on. But what we're going to do in here is we're going to break it up into 2 pits, so it's just an alternative way to do a very similar sized room. Now, because we're going to turn it into 2 bits, what we want to do is we're going to turn it into 2 fast bits, okay? Because when we put the whole room on, we wanted to turn it to 1 slow hit, okay? Well, you know, a linked hit. So we don't want to slow this down anymore because it's only a small amount. So what I'm going to do, so I was contemplating whether to put this all on or not, because I've got some left in the bucket. I've got some left on my hook there, and I've got this much left in the bucket, which would probably be just enough to get this on. And let's have a look at this room here. Look at these, and what I'm standing on here. That indicates to me there's going to be a shower, okay? So I'm going to guess, through experience, this whole wall is going to end up being tiled. So what I think I might do is initially just get a little coat over these tapes. And what I'm going to do now is turn back, because we've got the light coming through, the natural light, and we can see that I haven't been that as careful as I normally am with laying on plaster. You can see that, look at that, I've been very, very untidy. And here, look, you can see there's a joint in the plasterboard, and you can see there's a discoloration there where the cut edge of the plasterboard is drawing the moisture out of the plaster and causing this visible line all the way down there. So what I think I am going to do is I'm going to flatten this back in. And then with that amount of plaster, I'm going to wet this back. I'm going to flatten it all down first. Then I'm going to wet it down slightly, and I'm going to put a couple of handfuls of fresh plaster in it to return any lost strength to it. And by knocking this back and having quite a large percentage of the amount that you need being knocked back, it's going to speed these up considerably. But not too fast. When you mess around with dirty water, if you're doing it with fresh dirty water from the previous gauge, you should be alright, it shouldn't be too bad, but you can push your luck with it a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flatten this all back in, then we're going to come back and we're going to have a look in the light and see what sort of condition we're in now, and then I'm going to mix this round and I'm going to put the second coat over everything that we've already done, the reveals and the ceiling. And I'm going to guess I'm probably going to have a little bit left, so that's where I'm going to put a tight coat, probably over these screens, because I might just want to coat that one, just because it's going to be completely tiled. So we're just putting a bit of plaster on there, a little bit of extra protection. So I might take the sponge float to it, one coat it, but by taking out the joints first of all, before you do put a one coat over it, it stops that from happening, what's up there, to a certain degree. Anyway, shall we just get on with it and stop rambling on? Let's do it. Okay, standing right back in the exact same position, we can see the light and we've got the sheen from the dampness of the plaster, and we're still really quite wet, and we can still see that joint up there, and look, we can, well, I can see it, it's a little bit harder to come out on the video. So, look at this room, look, so 2 pipes here. Now I'm going to guess that's going to be like a freestanding bath. 2 little pipes here, no outlet, that's going to be a basin. This is your water feed for your toilet, and obviously that's going to be out to your stack. So this will sink will come down and probably join that stack there. And I think there's no mistaking that this is going to be a shower. And then we got two pipes here. What's that going to be? Towel rail radiator. There you go. Okay, so we're just going to give that 5 or 10 minutes to start picking up a little bit before we knock that plaster back and put the second coat on. And we need it to sort of like stiffen up a little bit so it holds itself together a little bit better. Because if you put wet weight onto already wet weight, which is already sagging, it's just going to sag even more with more wet weight on it. So yeah, we're breaking this room up. And if you want to see how to throw that whole room on, just the previous video, I've already mentioned it, how to eat meters. Now, the one that we did before that, so that is around about a 40 meter room. So we threw on a 40 meter gauge and the whole thing was live. So if you did 2 of them a day, which would be a long day, I would say, and quite tiring, you'd be on to 80 meters, you know, 2 40 meter rooms, and you could probably do that if you got an early start. The other big room that I showed you at the beginning of the video, that was a 63 meter room, and we did that in exactly the same manner, but without knocking back anything. We stayed fresh for that, but we did it in the exact same manner. We got the ceiling and the awkward wall on, then we left the 3 walls, the 3 easy walls, and that video, can you guess what it was called? It was called Didn't We Have a Lovely Time the Day We Did 63.5 meters? No, it wasn't. It was just called 63.5 meters. One man, one room, one day. Okay. You younger viewers might not get that joke. It's a play on words of a song. The song is entitled Didn't We Have a Lovely Time the Day We Went to Bangor, which I believe is a seaside town. I've never been there. I'm not too sure where it is. I think it's on the east coast somewhere, out past London, like that sort of way. I think on that lower bit. I'm not too sure. Look it up, let me know. Where is Bangor? I've never been there, and if you have been there, did you have a lovely time? I hope you did. Okay, so here we go. Look, we've knocked this back now. This is sort of consistency we got. It's a little bit wetter because it's going to pick up that little bit faster. And remember, whatever you're knocked up, let's say you put a bag on, okay, there's laying down, the second coat is going to be pretty much half as much again, so it'll be half a bag. Okay, so you need much less for your second coat. Okay, so here we are back in exactly the same position, and you can see, but I haven't turned back the flatness in, but that second coat has gone on a lot neater because we took time to flatten in that first coat as much as we did. I've got, you know, pretty much hawkful left over, but I need to turn around and get this flattened in again real quick. I've cleaned the setting bucket out because I can feel before I'm just getting to the end of that little bit of plaster we mixed up there, it's starting to stiffen up, the reactions that much quicker. So I need to get back across this ceiling now and get it under control. Did I forget to mention the 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown? That's all that we're using. Nothing else has touched the wall or the ceiling at this stage. Okay, so there we are back in the exact same spot, and we took a wet brush with it. I'll just show you, I'm always showing you the wet brushes along with the trowel. It's getting a little bit old now, but these smaller wet brushes I find are ideal rather than big, heavy things that splash all over the place, and you can't use them as a tool to tidy up your internals. So let's have a look at this internal here. I know the lighting's not good. The plaster's picking up quite quick, but we've just done one flatten with the wet brush, and that's conditioned. Our internals are in already. So yeah, I do like to keep things like that under control, and I find those smaller wet brushes, they're from wicks, taper out at the end, they're ideal for keeping things clean. So I never use a corner trowel, okay? I don't need one because I've got these brushes. I just use the blade of the trowel and those brushes, and I can get my internals really, really good, and I can keep them neat the whole time through. There's nothing wrong with using corner trowels, but if there is any undulation, you might be tempted, especially if you're using a curved trowel, like a perma shape, you will have trouble. The perma shapes will go over flat areas really nicely, but because the blade is so curved, you will have trouble trying to get your internals, a live internal, where you've got one side of the corner and both sides of the corner are wet with fresh plaster. So you will get a triangle sort of, it's like a corner trowel, okay? It's got like 2 wings on it, and you'll draw that across. The only problem is with that is there is any undulations or bumps and lumps and stuff in the surfaces that you're going over, it does tend to follow them. So this is one of the reasons I use that larger trowel, is because you create your own line a little bit and you tend to get straighter internals, I find. And you know, quite often that's what, you know, catches your eye when you go into a room. Okay, so with the 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel, we have given it its second visit with a wet brush, and you can see in the light, I'm always trying to use the light, you see how rippy it's been because we're really able to open up that trowel, and it's planing off slight ripples and revealing the different textures of granules inside the coat of plaster. Now, the stiffer carbon steel trowels tend to do this, but this stuff is picking up pretty quick. I went across the reveals, and this is the sort of residue we're getting out now, which is really quite slimy, and it's not much good for anything, because if you try and feel little ripples of that, it's full of so much water and not enough granules, it will shrink back, etc. So you really do need to get your flatness sorted out as early on as possible in the life of the wall or the ceiling. Now we are going to switch over to this trowel now, which is the stainless steel flexible trowel. Show you how much it flexes. Look, it's a very bendy trowel, and as a result they do tend to hold their shape quite nicely. Now, because this is a softer metal, it's really going to close that surface in now. We've dealt with all the flatness, all the ripples as much as we can. Now we're moving on to making it smooth, and that happens right at the end. Some people get it confused with making things smooth. When you put it on, you know, you get things flat, and then right at the end you make things smooth and you start to polish them up. And I find these stainless steel trowels, you can do it with the carbon steels, but because that's so big, you're really putting quite a lot of pressure on there, and it's a little bit too cumbersome, hard work on your joints and stuff, which is why for the last sort of couple of passes, 1 or 2 passes, and I'm getting the feeling, because this is going off quite quick, it's only going to need 1 pass with that much nicer, easier to use, less strain on your arm, Rafino Flex 2. So back again in that exact same position, and that's what the stainless steel did to the ceiling, so it looks much more agreeable, and it has polished the surface. Now this is the sort of residue which is getting out of that now, which is reduced right down, so that's going to suggest that your wall or ceiling is pretty much done. Now, as I say, I don't ever use a corner trowel, but at this point now I've troweled up. Let's have a look in there. There's a little discrepancy in there, right on the inside, but with a half decent inch brush, you just fine tune these angles right at the end, and you get a half decent brush, and it's not going to leave any brush marks to mention. Let's have a look at that now. Okay, we've still got to get this wall, so once I get this wall, I'll get that annoying little bit that's there. Look, just a proof of point, look, I'm in there. Okay, so we're pretty much all done with that hit. So what we're going to do is exactly the same thing again to these 3 walls. Bag them off. 2 bags I think might be a bit excessive. Bag and 3/4 in. I don't mind over guessing it a little bit, because we're going to do exactly the same thing to speed this other hit up. We're going to, whatever's left, we're going to mix that back, and we're going to use that to speed up the setting time for the second coat. So let's get on and do that, shall we? Right, these 3 walls are on. That's how they've gone on. I haven't flattened them in. And rather annoyingly, pretty much knocked up the exact amount that I needed to get those 3 walls on. I was having a little bit left over so I can create more dirty water. But don't worry, we'll still sort it. We'll still be able to create some dirty water out of that. Now, one little thing to add, if you are going to make some dirty water, you're going to make the dirty water just prior to mixing up for your next coat, okay? Don't wash it around now and then put a bucket over there and leave it for 20 minutes, because it'll start setting again. And then when you add more fresh water to it, you're kind of knocking it back for the second time, so it'll go off even faster. So yeah, don't get caught out like that. Just let it pick up in the bucket, wash it round, and then mix into it immediately. Right, we need to get back around and flatten all this in, so that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Okay, just quickly whilst we're at it, I don't think there's any real need to go through the whole process again, because we're pretty much doing the same thing, but here we go. Light coming through, these are the walls which have just been laid down. Now I'm going to turn straight back round and flatten these in, still remaining with a 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown. Okay, let's have a quick look then. This is the kind of condition we are in after its first trowel up with a wet brush, first time it's seen a wet brush. And as you can see, there's no real major trowel marks in there, which is a good indication that we're looking really quite flat indeed. So like I say, it's just a case of just seeing this home now. So on the first go, this stuff you can feel there's quite a lot of granules still in it. So you can kind of get away with filling with that if you do find any little misses or anything, any little ripples you never got. So, but for now on in, it's probably not a good idea on the second go to use that anymore because it's just too wet and slimy. Okay, I think really this is probably ready for me to get around there again. Remember in here we're working at room temperature, and I'm not sure exactly how long these boards have been up and they've been sitting here at room temperature. So that will certainly affect things. Well, the temperature outside is rising a little bit, but let's say there was no windows in and the temperature was a lot lower, the temperature was below room temperature generally, then these walls would be hanging around a little bit more. But yeah, it's all going off quite easily and as I'd expect. Okay, we're all done. Let's make it like a tree and get out of here. There we go, that's what happened today. We got that room smashed out and I got my tools out and I am going to go away and help a friend out. Ben, I'm going to go in with him tomorrow. So I made those few phone calls in the morning, and by the end of the day I'd had a couple of phone calls from another couple of builders, and I'd gone from going there first thing in the morning and thinking, look, I've only got a day left here, and by the end of the day I'd had a few phone calls and I'm thinking, how am I going to fit all this work in this week? That is just how the cookie does crumble. I had nothing for the rest of the week, and now I've got well, actually, I've been able to move one back. But yeah, I forgot that I've got the Shepperton job. Guy phoned me up. There's a couple of days there. There was another one which came in. I snowed under again. I am snowed under again. It does do your head in. You never know what's going on. I constantly feel like I am Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace, where you're looking for the hyperdrive. And I'm playing the chance cubes. I'm playing off this guy to that guy. I literally just do not know what's happening from one moment to the next. So yeah, this week we are really busy again. And yeah, I just don't know if I'm going to fit it all in. So, you know, one good thing of that is there's going to be plenty of videos again coming on in the next week. And this weekend I'm booked away again to go and stay in a hotel down in Wimborne by Bournemouth to see some people that I haven't seen for quite a while. I'm taking my wife with me, Judy. So yeah, socially and on a work sense, we've been so busy, and yeah, we're just trying to fit these videos in between. So guys, thanks again for watching the video. It really does help out. It makes me a couple of quid, nothing major. Last month, August, was my best month, I think, since date, from going for a year now. And we made, just on ad revenue, because that's the only way I make any money, we made £342, which is really good. I'm really happy with that. I won't bore you, but YouTube's been really funny recently. They've got these ad blockers on now, and like the views are down really low, but the money's still coming in. I don't know. It's a different world, and I'm dabbling with it. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Right, I'm going to wrap this one up now. Don't forget to come over to the Facebook group if you want to engage with me and other plasters, which is called Plaster Master Smurf 74, whereas this YouTube channel is called Master Smurf 74 Plastering. So yeah, if you did enjoy this channel, you can support us by hitting that subscribe button. I know I have to ask for it, but looking at the analytics and everything, there's so many return viewers and they're not hitting the subscribe button, so you must be typing in that the Master Smurf 74 every time you want to watch one, or I don't know how it works. But if you do hit that subscribe button, we're trying to get up there, and eventually I wouldn't mind being at a point where I can make so much money out of doing these videos that I can start doing like a DIY SOS and start helping people out and doing jobs for free. That would be amazing if we could get to that point. But at the moment, I still feel we're quite a way off from doing that. So if you do want to help me out, want to help the channel out, then do hit that subscribe button, and yeah, it just helps out. Right guys, let's wrap this up, and I will see you on the next video. I'm going in tomorrow with Ben, aka Nugget, and I don't know if I'm going to film anything there. We'll find out when we get there, like Qui-Gon Jinn. Alright, yeah. Alright, take it easy, see you soon. Alright, bye bye.